But let's start with John Longmire as we welcome you and Roosie back to the couch. What's your take of the horse?
Clear as mud. Clear as mud, Jared, after that interview on 360.
Robbo thinks he's going to the Kangas.
Well, I don't know. I must admit, I feel like he's going to Sydney, but I feel like mixed messages, a little bit muddy. I'm not sure
really
what's going on there, Gary. You had Liam Pickering on your show last week.
He did. He set it in motion on SEN Breakfast last Tuesday. Robbo said, let's discuss it tomorrow night. No, let's discuss it right now, because that was a fascinating, intriguing interview for all sorts of reasons. The man to my left's been adamant all year that John Longmire's not going anywhere. The question is, why won't he come out and say it, Roosie?
Yeah, it's interesting. The only thing I can gather out of that is perhaps Tom Harley, Andrew Pridham and John Longmire have got together and said we're not discussing contracts, because otherwise it just didn't make sense to me. It didn't make... That's the only thing on my mind, knowing John Longmire and knowing, well, what he said towards the end. I've always honoured my contracts. I've been here for 18 years. But he had an opportunity to sort of knock it fairly and squarely on the head and went down the party line. So maybe there has been some discussion with Tom, Andrew Pridham and John, and they've said...
And Ben Buckley, maybe.
And I don't know. Maybe they've said we're not discussing contracts, end of story.
But that's the first time he's stonewalled, because over the last 2 or 3 weeks, he's had plenty of opportunity to stonewall, and he's kept the door just slightly ajar, even if it was subconscious.
The first time there was a suspicion he was playing a bit of a game. Not a game, but he was having a bit of fun with the media as much as anyone else, and that he had a contract for next year and that they were heavy in discussions. That, to me, is a whole different situation, because of the fact that a week ago Alistair Clarkson sat there in a similar position and said, definitively, categorically, I'm contracted, I'm not going anywhere. Johnny Longmire's got the opportunity to say the same thing. As soon as Clarkson said that, we've all moved on. So Horse had the chance here. Now, Horse might be sitting back there in the studio looking at this, laughing his head off, saying, look at these blokes, they've fallen in again. But this is what feeds the beast. And the beast right now is going to go into overdrive on the back of that and a Freudian slip in amongst that, which Tom Morris will show us a little bit later on. I mean, the door is open now.
We're not waiting for Tommy. We're going to show it right now. Here's John Longmire about 40 minutes ago.
We'll have to wait and see, Robbo. I'm absolutely contracted to the Sydney Swans Football Club. I have been there for 18 years. My commitment to this football club is very strong, and I am absolutely doing the best job of my ability, and that's all I've got to say on it.
Genuine slip-up?
Yeah, well, the only thing was that his manager, Liam Pickering, had a genuine slip-up with him. He was talking about Buddy Franklin about 5 years earlier. He may be laughing at us. I don't know. This is the area where you're just not sure, Roosie. But I mean, he also said he's got a pretty good track record. He's been contracted for 18 years. He hasn't gone anywhere. He's got a year to run next year. Why wouldn't he just say, listen, I'll be at Sydney next year, and I'm hoping maybe beyond that, but I'm contracted next year, end of story. Yeah, because the North Melbourne thing looms large.
Yeah, the bit we didn't see there was at the start of the interview when they asked him directly, he said, we don't talk about contracts. We don't talk about player contracts. We don't talk about our own contracts. That's probably the bit that's confused me. I expect John to be at Sydney, more from the point of view that why would you leave? I mean, I think they're in a really good shape with some young players. His kids are in school. Yeah, I think year 10 he mentioned before, and I know, obviously the lifestyle in Sydney, etc. So it's just illogical to me.
Are you any less confident having heard that?
A bit less confident, yeah, I am a bit less. After the first part of it, not the second part, which we just heard there. That probably clarified a bit more, but probably to Brownie's point, if you throw the whole interview in, it probably is still a little bit more.